Approval of the minutes from July 7th, 2025.
Any discussion or comments?
The minutes for the last meeting list October 6th of this year as our next regular meeting. Today is September 8th.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's an edit to the minutes, but I did note the mention that the reservations that came with the vote at the end of the meeting would be sent to council, including improving the process on future plans or updates, but it's unclear to me what that mechanism is or what those reservations are. They're not recorded in the minutes.
We did get all of the plan commission comments forwarded to us, with enough time to review those before our comments were due, into Lakota Group. As far as the recommendation of the process improvements, there has been discussion of that, but I don't know that I have a concrete enough, like deliverable to give you back on what that's gonna look like, but that has been, under discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So the comments were recorded and via the video recording and passed along?
Well,
What we, yes. Okay,
those were passed.
okay. All right, thank you.
So we just have the change of the date.
Yeah.
Yes, so someone should move the amended minutes to change the date from October 6th date to September. And that should be then seconded. If seconded, it should be by motion.
Really hard decision.
Okay.
All right. Do
So
I have,
I moved to change October 6th to September 8th in the previous meeting's minutes.
thank you, Christie. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are approved with that change. Next item?
A public hearing, Webster Groves Comprehensive Plan. Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. I'm
Sorry,
sorry.
public.
I'm sorry. The next item was public comments.
All right, this is part of the agenda where anyone wishing to comment on items not on the agenda may have the opportunity.
Mr. Chair, I would point out that the public comment at this time is not the public comment for the public hearing. If you made a comment now, you would have an opportunity to speak
Yeah.
again at the public hearing.
Okay, I'm not seeing anyone online either from the public. Okay,
Okay.
next item.
Public hearing for the Webster Groves Comprehensive Plan.
All right, so this is something we have addressed, but city council has decided that we need to revisit this and open it up for more
Right. So
discussion.
upon review of the record, and I'd looked at the various meetings that you'd had several where you talked about the comprehensive plan and there were comments on the plan. There was a thought, a good faith belief that comprised a public hearing on the comprehensive plan. I did not agree with that. And as a consequence, determined that it would be better to bring it back to make sure we're perfecting the process in front of you. So we are having a public hearing now on this plan, at the end of which we will ask you to affirm your previous vote. Okay,
And we will take comment.
pardon me?
And we will take comments.
Oh, yes, there will
Yep.
be a
Yep.
regular public meeting
Yep.
where there'll be a presentation, the
Yep.
admission of documents and or exhibits and public comment included.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to put this brief presentation on the screen. And for you, the members of the commission, this will be something of a review for the members. Uh, mhm. There we go. Okay, and then. All right. So is the captions showing up? Oh. I'm sorry?
You need to share your other screen so that we are still seeing the Zoom call on our screens.
Okay, we'll try that. All right, and let's put this.
If you, he has two screens, right? If you can share whichever screen is the screen on your right, and then make it full screen over there, and then on your screen on the left, full screen our Zoom meeting. We should be able to still see closed captioning and see.
All right, let's try that.
Make this full screen again. And then say, when you say stop sharing, click share again. Select that screen, it should be two, and
Alright.
say share. And now we should be able to see.
It only likes this one.
This whole screen again. So we have closed captioning. Can you see the presentation now? Yeah. It says he shared it. But it's not. There you go.
But it's not coming up full screen.
No, that's all right.
All right,
We'll live with it.
okay, so
Andrew and
Andrew,
Kyle,
Kyle,
can you see the screen?
the presentation?
Screen share?
I currently see a screen that shows me a city plan commission September 8th, 2025 slide.
Yep,
That's what I can see too, Kyle. Yep.
you're good.
all right.
All right, here we go.
Okay, so as I was mentioning, this will be a bit of a review for the commission, but for the members of the public, this will be new. So we're just doing a bit of a refresher. So okay, this is all the rules. This public hearing on the proposed comprehensive plan draft is required for the Missouri revised statutes. Adoption of the plan. This is just the brief rules. Basically, before the adoption extension of the plan or portion thereof, the commission shall hold at least one public hearing thereon. That is what we're doing tonight. Requires a majority vote of the full membership of the commission. Resolution must refer to the maps and documents intended to be part of the plan. According to the vote of the plan must be signed by the commission secretary and filed in the city hall. A copy of the plan shall be certified to the council and the city clerk, and a copy must be available to the office of the county recorder of the deeds in the city clerk's office for public inspection during normal work hours. Past history, brief refresher on the past history. The Coda Group and staff presented a council review of the draft plan, along with the collected comments of the commission and council members on August 19th. Council and staff discussed the process for moving ahead with approval, including a public hearing by the Plan Commission tonight. Council next steps would be, and it would need to be decided, another public hearing and first and second readings, any council amendments and discussion of the comp plan that needs to be made. And then on the second meeting of the council and a date to be decided after that, continued discussion and if necessary, any further amendments and a final vote on adoption. And that's pretty much all that we have put together for the hearing tonight. As mentioned, we've discussed this at some length, and the plan has been available. So we basically want to turn it back over to you to conduct the public hearing.
So again, the plan itself, of course, is before you as it's been written, as it was proposed to you in its first iteration. And that's what we're asking you to approve tonight. So we'd ask you to take into account and move for the admission of the prior minutes and the plan itself, which has been submitted to you before as an exhibit for tonight's hearing. In addition, the very limited presentation that was here would be included, as well as the ordinances of the city of Webster Groves, and most importantly, the public notice, which was published, allowing the public to know that this meeting was occurring. So this would be a time when we would then open it for public comment. Then we would close, of course, go into executive session, and you all could discuss the plan as you understand it today. Okay?
Can I just ask one clarifying question before we
Could you turn
begin?
on your mic? Is your mic on?
Can you hear me now?
I can now.
Okay. So there are no new exhibits, additions, or changes since,
It's the plan as you saw it back in May.
okay.
Okay.
And council has seen that with all of the comments and didn't make any changes.
They will discuss that, and there probably will be changes that are made, but at this point, none of that has happened. So at this point, while they have heard about it, while they have discussed it, no changes to the plan have been made.
Was this not an agenda item in a council meeting between?
It was, but it was not voted upon. There were no amendments, specific amendments that were adopted as part of the plan.
Okay, thank you.
Right. It's where it was when you had it.
Can you go back to the slide of what the planning commission's role is? Okay, so the adoption of the plan by a majority of this commission, approve a resolution, the maps and documents, a record of the vote of the plan signed by the commission secretary, filed in City Hall, and a copy of the plan is certified to the council and the city clerk. So we're sending this up as an ordinance. So are we adopting the ordinance?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
You're simply adopting a resolution at this point that goes back up to council, a recommendation that comes
Okay.
back to council.
okay.
It's the
That
same
makes
thing that we did.
Right.
Right.
Councilman,
Yeah, the only thing that we're doing, the reason that we're doing this tonight is to make sure we're perfecting the process, that's all. Because there is a statutory requirement that we have a public hearing. Right, right, exactly. Public comment.
All right. At this point, we will accept comments from members of the public on the comprehensive plan. Does everyone fill out a speaker card? All right.
So I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that we would have to step up, since we're recording anyway, them step up, identify themselves by name and indicate their home their street address, and then they would be allowed to speak.
All right, who'd like to come up first?
Well, I will.
somebody's got to start.
Okay.
Right. Someone up that's be succinct, name and address.
My name is Mary Farner. I live at 702 Clark Avenue. Are we talking about this 214-page comprehensive plan? Okay. All right. My biggest questions, concern, interest relates to the residential properties. And the recommendations to increase diversity and types of housing. You list the A1 through A4 neighborhoods, the largest being the A4 neighborhoods. Will all of the neighborhoods have the opportunity to participate in increasing the diversity of our city, the housing diversity of our cities? Or is it limited strictly to the A4 neighborhoods, which would mean increasing the density of the most dense neighborhoods already? My concern also is with parking. In my Tuxedo Park neighborhood, there's a lot of street parking because there's only, if there's a garage, it's single car garage. So many families, the 2.4 household, that other person has got a car also that's going to be parked on the street, which they do. And a lot of streets, Atalanta, Tuxedo, become one-lane streets because the car is parked. You can't get down a street. You have to wait and do this little do-si-do down the street. So my question to you is, what would that look like? How do you address the parking? And will all of the neighborhoods equally get to share in increasing our diversity? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kevin.
Kevin Hasting, 73 Marshall Place. Thank you for, making it possible for us to have this hearing tonight. I appreciate it. I'm a little late to the party, but thanks to the council for putting together this document. There's a ton of work, and I appreciate all the efforts. I know you're volunteers, and so thank you. I'd like to address just the portion as it relates to the district opportunity sites. My home is next to Rolling Ridge Nursery and Telva. And so one of the proposed sites is right there across the street. And my encouragement as this moves forward is to remember that, two of the things that you mentioned in the report, parking and traffic, that really kind of were part of what doomed the Douglas Hill overall project, are not really mentioned in the steps to be considered as you go forward. I encourage you to still do that. I understand that parking is, unless you're at Union Station, is not a revenue generator. So there's always this tug of war, right, between rentable space, retail space, home space, and parking. So you have a tendency, it's easy to say, oh, this calls for so many parking spaces for this kind of thing, and you get to the smallest number. I just ask you to take a look at, where the entrances and exits are, where the hills are, where are people going to park. Especially, again, I'm sort of biased because it's close to my neighborhood. We welcome Telva. The Traffic Commission has done a nice job at providing some additional parking measures to help our streets stay halfway sane. And, but more traffic, if Rolling Ridge loses their parking in this sample framework proposal, where are people going to go? And again, my encouragement is please, take it, parking and traffic into consideration as this plan continues to develop and you seek developers and those sorts of things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Michael Jennings, 347 Linham Lane in Southwest Webster. I have several issues with this, but my biggest issues are with the commercial and industrial development portions of this document. In a lot of places, and even in the residential, in a lot of places, it encourages Webster to put its thumb on the scale and offer tax increment financing and waiving taxes and other things to encourage the development that they want to see happen. I don't think that's the role of Webster as a municipality to put their thumb on that scale. I think it's fine to encourage people to make RFPs and to encourage the types of businesses you think fit the categories you want. But actually offering incentives, I think, goes well above and beyond the scope of what the municipality should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning Commission. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. Last Thursday, I think I emailed you 9 different serious questions, issues, and opportunities from my little vantage point. We don't have time to talk about those. If you guys would like to talk about them, call me up and I'll be happy to sit down and have coffee and talk them over. But I'm going to talk about one. And it's really beyond your purview as development, which is the word comprehensive means complete. And in my estimation, the current plan, 215 pages, the plan is not complete yet, and it's missing something. And what I would recommend is this. I would add 1 page, 8.5 by 11 page, titled the 8th Community Pillar. There's 7 right now. That's been there for over like 18 months. But add an 8th community pillar titled People. The people are our city's #1 asset. People are at the top of the city's organizational chart. People are the #1 value in the city's strategic plan. People like Bompard and Lockwood and Gore and Marshall founded this place, created it, designed it, built it, and led the city. And if this plan is focused on the growth and development of the city over 10 to 20 years, what about the growth and development of the people, of our community? I mean, without the people, there is no Webster Groves. And I really like the current plan. I applaud Josh and Hannah at Lakota Group in a massive plan. But they didn't talk about the people. The people, what makes this city work. You guys are not AI. You guys are human beings, people serving the country, serving the city. This is what our city operates on, the value of the people. And I just think that 1 page in the document titled 8th Community Pillar, People, would satisfy it and would be symbolic and acknowledgement that the people have the power and the creativity and the leadership to make this city the way that we want it. It's not the bulldozers and everything else. It's the people. So I just think the people should be acknowledged in the plan. Pretty basic.
Thank you.
We're almost exactly 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I was. He's had practice. All right, I see one out there. Would you care to speak? Oop, no, she covered you. Okay, thank you. All right, no, I don't see anyone.
That would be the close of the public hearing.
Yeah. I think we do
And I
that.
would move for the addition of the transcripts of the May meeting where the comprehensive plan was discussed, including the comments by the Lakota Group and the presentation that was made that night. Number 2, the copy of the comprehensive plan as it's been presented to you all. Number 3, the public notice that was published regarding tonight's public hearing. And finally, the ordinances of the city of Webster Groves and the statutes of the state of Missouri.
That's your motion.
Mine would be for the addition of those exhibits, yes.
Okay.
That's my motion.
All right. Do I have a second? All right, moved and seconded. So are we vote? Okay, that's okay. Yeah,
Close the regular session.
yeah. Right.
Motion to adjourn the regular session.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Hold on, wait, hold on. Kyle Andrew,
Hi.
Aye.
I think Kyle said aye. Okay. Okay,
Pass motion. Okay.
all right, executive session.
The Webster Groves Comprehensive Plan. Discussion?
Yeah, discussion, any discussion regarding the comments we've heard this evening? I have a couple questions, but I will yield for the moment.
I have one just kind of cursory question. We discussed in one of our sessions in depth quite a bit the same district opportunity site that was mentioned by our community member as maybe lacking some information. We also noted that that was maybe some confusing information in that particular site. Slope and hills and parking was also mentioned. I am just wondering if it may be beneficial to remove that particular piece of information or have it adjusted to be more clear in the plan, since it has come up again.
Remove the exhibit.
Remove the item in the comprehensive plan that was showing that proposed building at the corner there. We mentioned some concerns with it being an implausible option for that site because of its slope. Our community member has also mentioned that there are just some concerns in looking at it, that it is not a realistic solution for that site. Do we want to remove it as it is not appearing to be realistic?
I think it's still, the issue is it's still a development opportunity for the city that the city wants to pursue. The rendering in the plan as it stands today may not be the rendering the city goes with. So it's meant as an example. It's not meant as the proposed path forward. So removing it completely may remove the opportunity as part of the vision for development. And I'm not sure that we want to do that. Maybe you do. I don't want to make that assumption. That's a question.
Oh, I was thinking I want to definitely keep the site in there for sure. I just didn't know if, I think people are getting hung up on those renderings being something that they see as not realistic. So do we want, is there an opportunity to do a different rendering? Is there, or it is, I agree. It's just not, it's a graphic that's showing an idea. So I was just wondering if we wanted a clearer image or not.
Maybe it just needs to be marked as exhibit. I mean,
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
sample, or, a sample plan. This is not a
Yeah.
site plan.
Yeah,
Something like that. More clearly shown in the plan.
agreed. That would help.
Don't disagree. I guess we could say that about much of what is in the plan in it.
Well,
itself.
I mean,
Leave it as a sample.
we're in the executive session, so that's like my overarching issues.
Yeah.
There are lots of things in the plans that are examples, and those examples inspire action. And I personally believe that can be a little bit dangerous. I think those ideas should come organically from the people of the city. And when we start mixing in ideas from other municipalities that have different considerations, I worry about the influence on our own individual thought from a community perspective. I'm not talking about the Plan Commission. And that's going back to our last executive session. I think that's something that underpins my concern with the plan as is. And it also contributes to its size. I just don't know how usable it is. Since that meeting, I've gone back in preparation for this meeting and really tried to use the plan to think about other things that are on our agenda. It's cumbersome. It's very difficult. I still have some question marks, and I think hearing from the public today has further entrenched those thoughts.
I'm going to turn your question that you just asked me back on you just to clarify what you're saying. Would you be in support of removing a number of these examples?
I don't think the one that you're talking about I would necessarily want to remove, but I'm agreeing that throughout the document, I think there could be some confusion as to whether something's an example or a suggestion or more than that.
Agreed. Thank you.
Or just an idea.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I think the whole comprehensive plan needs to be, people need to be educated as to what this plan is. It's not a strategic plan. It is not a plan for the future. It is a planning document. It's to be used by staff and developers or people in the community for development. And so, yes, all of these are just ideas of what we've heard people in the community would like to see. And I think when people read it, they think that, oh, we're supposed to be doing this. Well, maybe we didn't sell it correctly as what is a comprehensive plan, and therefore maybe some of it makes sense of, oh, okay, we're not going to do this, but we could do this, or we could do this, or this is what other people have done. I don't disregard other ideas in other places, not to get too wonky, but the people that are going to use this are going to be, they're going to want that information, or some of those ideas in other communities. So I guess I don't have a problem with the way that it's written, because the people that are going to actually be using it, the planners, the lawyers, they know how to use this type of
They
document.
don't ask the lawyers until it's over.
Well, they know how to use this document, and they have to educate people as to how they're going to use this document. That's my.
So Tony, just since we're all like kind of turning it around, do you feel like it's a good comprehensive plan? Does it do what you are thinking and describing that it should do?
I agree with you. It's big and it's cumbersome, but there's a lot of ideas in here. There's a lot of good ideas in here. Now, the proof is in the pudding, like you said. Okay, if a plan comes in and, the planners have to say, okay, where is that? And how do I do that? That's for them to decide. And if that's something that they feel that they can, navigate, then I guess I'm okay with it, because I don't have to use it on a daily basis. As long as the information that we want in there about our future goals and, and what we want, as long as those are in there, I am okay.
I did not. I do now. Yeah. Let's let Kyle chime in.
Okay, I was being polite since I'm remote. My opinion on this is I agree with Tony. It's an incredible, important document for the planning department to have and look at. And it's also important to keep in mind that this is a marketing document for outside, right? Like, the city of Webster Groves is an absolutely atrocious reputation for being a place to develop real estate. And the first thing we can do is send a message that says, please come invest here. So I think, tightening this thing down, taking example sites out, I wouldn't be for that. I hope that people see this and say, hey, this is exciting. This is a place where I want to invest money, because it's a community that wants these type of investments.
Now, whether they'll get approved also will come back before the community in the form of a
Absolutely.
public hearing. So, yeah. But yeah.
And
I
that
agree with you. I
that
agree with
plan
you.
has
Let
to,
them-
it has to address the comprehensive plan to really even get to us, right? So.
Right.
Can I ask a question about the maps, getting to the comment we heard about housing diversity? I know we talked about that in previous meetings. Can someone remind me if we will update the map after the comp plan, or if that needs to be done? Yeah, the zoning map, so that it's, because we had changed some of the density on the actual map. I just can't remember that conversation.
So you're talking about the official zoning map of the city, not the future land use map that's in the plan?
I think I'm probably talking about both. I'm going from my memory here. Do we have both maps in the plan,
Well, so
or just the future land use?
the future land use plan in the land use map, in the comp plan is just as Tony and are saying, it's just a suggestion based on all the comments and all the research. The zoning map will be, if it is changed, will be changed after the plan is approved in a public process. That has to be done formally, and that cannot be done before the plan is approved, because any zoning change has to be based
On the plan. Okay, great. So we'll have an opportunity to address those concerns with diversity through that process. Again, getting to your point, this is ideas. It's not prescriptive to those zones mentioned. Okay, thank you.
Is Kyle, your hand's still up or? Nope. All right. Yes, go ahead.
I just, I appreciate the comment because I know I was, or your thought, I had been annoyed because I thought I'd raised it a year ago about that figure, that side to the creek, they just thought on that show was developed. But by the same token, I took from that they were looking at adding a line in there about needing to do it by the side. So as I heard, I think that was being addressed in the text a little bit, but I would have much liked to see that figure adjusted to show saving that slope. But I think that they compromised and put that in there. So I think I'm agreeing it's a little bit of a guide. But I do worry, back to the comment about we want to bring people in. That side in particular, we know there's a history there that's not pretty, for lack of a better word. So hopefully the next people come in don't try and tear off half a hillside with a nuclear attack or whatever and move all the dirt. So I think that is kind of this, hopefully that's made clear in that text. The other thing with the diversity comment, I do think it's unfortunate that years ago we had tried to the attached townhomes adjustments that got overrode by vote. And I certainly don't know the motivation of that comment. I'm not gonna pretend to know what's an individual's thinking. But I will say, having sat here when we went through all that and thought about it, that the way it was presented in the press and the Rutherford Kirkwood Time and what some of the people said was absolute invented nonsense. And those thoughts weren't what drove it. You know, it was about, and it started in the zoning district it did, only because that was the largest zoning district, the largest one. So we wanted to start with the largest zoning district, not for any other reason. I was here. I know what happened. We started because it was the largest zoning district when Mayor Perry had brought that up. And that's why it started in that district. You know, no matter personally.
It started because it was it was already a conditional use in the
Conditional use in that largest.
And
So a lot of, which is what was in the paper, what was said, a lot of that was just untrue. And it was sad too that we sat through so many meetings when nobody showed up and there were plenty of comments. But so I do think there's just a lot of misinformation on that particular topic that I would just caution people about, if that is indeed part of the emphasis, and it may not be. I'm not saying, but it was an unfortunate thing the way it happened. Instead of people showing up to public comment and doing like we are now, getting it out in the press and doing it that way was unfortunate.
Okay. I think what I wanted to ask or state has kind of been tangentially noted through the other discussion, and we've had comments on TIFs and parking, and I just wanted to make it clear or get you to kind of confirm that, I mean, what is those items that are in there are suggestions. It's not a commitment to a TIF by the city, and for instance, the TIF question. So anything will come, anything that's related to that will come for a public process at that point. So it's not binding us to anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a plan. And again, it is suggestions, but anything like parking, anything like a TIF has a process in and of itself. And so all of those things would still come back through you all and you'd all see them. So again, before we approve anything that's a building or a development or whatever, we have to show all of the parking impact, right? We have to look at all of those sorts of things. That all comes back through you in a process. Same with the TIF commission. We establish a TIF commission for certain purposes. That all comes through. So again, it always gets the public eye.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Public hearings.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I would just-
those 5 factors. I received.
yeah, for CP.
I was just trying. I was like, maybe it's gonna work. I see this document. I don't know. I'm not overly concerned because I do see it as like a guiding document and just ideas, and the graphics are going to be different because someone chose them than a different person. So I'm not overly concerned about these things because they still have to come back to us for like the parking and the diversity of the housing and that kind of a thing. So, but I do love the pillar of the people. I love that. So because I agree, we moved to Webster Groves because of the people. So I like that idea. But do we have the power to add that to the?
To add, you have the power to recommend or reject or not recommend the plan as it's written.
Okay, so we
Now, you
couldn't
could
add
make
that.
recommendations, though. So, I mean, the recommendations that you would make, the suggestions that you've made regarding things to look at, for instance, the exhibits,
Right.
the renderings, that's all something that's why we have a liaison that's here from council, who will then carry that information back to council and say, these were the concerns that were
Okay.
voiced.
So Emily would be the person that we would tell, we like the pillars, we like the whatever.
She would, and my experience with her is she does.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
And the people, I agree with the pillar of people, but they're basically already there. Every public hearing is the pillar of the people. So it's, I don't know how you would write that into it. It's a public hearing, so.
Well, all of the pillars should support the people.
Right.
The people are what the pillars are holding up. Resilient neighborhoods are made of all of us as people. City of arts and artists, right? Collaborative government, I hope means actual engagement from our community. So I love the idea too. I do feel that it's in here. I just think it's not called out as a pillar because each of the pillars represents an avenue to support of the people as a whole. At least that's my hope for this plan. I did not get your email though. Were we supposed to get 9 questions? I did not get them.
I haven't seen them.
It's hard to believe.
I only had email addresses for 5 of you. So apparently they were coming directly. They weren't coming from us to you. They were coming. from
Okay,
Dave.
thank you for that
We
clarification.
blocked Dave's emails, so. Dave, you know I'm kidding.
People asking wants to take any discussion forward, I will we'll open it up any other discussion on people building.
I think Grace adequately, we don't need any more pages in this document. I just don't know what that would look like, but I like the way you phrased it as the document is the people and the pillars, you know, everything, every one of those pillars involves people. And so I'm okay keeping it as it is.
I'm so sorry. I have one last thing. I brought it up last time. It's still, I think it relates to some of the concerns with the TIFs and really specific language. My feedback to council is I want to know this plan really truly does have flexibility, because when I read down at the strategic goal levels, those are really clear actions with prioritizations already, timeframes, partnerships, and descriptions of their types. To me, that reads as direction straight from the plan. And I am concerned about the plan's flexibility and representation in those individual areas, if those are going to be taken and just pursued blindly. I don't think that's the intent we just discussed here. And so I really would like to know from council. I mean, it's really hard for me to vote on this without knowing that. And it's a little bit frustrating not having that feedback back. I think I've heard that that's the plan, but the mechanization of what's in the plan to our city is critical to me.
So taking out the timeframes, just that. Like
I-
who's responsible, all that, but taking out the one that has the priority timelines. I mean, I see where you're going with this and I tend
can
to
live
agree
with this,
you.
but
Mhm.
I personally have a problem going beyond the strategic level, going to individual goals. I just think, what's the role of the commissions? If we are usually helping support development of those goals, they're already in here. When the last time we did a comp plan, it was 1978. So that's why I'm concerned.
My understanding is that there's legal, sorry.
So I'm not sure what entity would be able and willing to take all of them.
Well, how are they going to be updated then?
It's going to be, I think it's going to be an ad hoc kind of thing.
That's why I'm worried. These are written, it's not an addendum. This isn't an appendix. This is in the comp plan.
Do it for our deputies, senior managers over that area, would make sure that those things get done. The priority of the city to make sure that things. Of course, this is a decade-long plan, so they won't all happen upfront. I think that some of those deliverables in the back are from the code, kind of give an example, and I think just an example of kind of like a roadmap of here's to implement them. But all of the things that we've talked about at council are all future to be discussed, to be approved, to like nothing is here it is and there are the marching orders, like everything is, it's a framework for things to am I playing that well?
Yeah,
I know what you're saying, but it doesn't read that way. It doesn't say these are ideas for how you could carry this out. It says this is your comprehensive plan and these are the goals and these are the priorities. It doesn't say this is a template to be used within your city processes. And
There's also a section of like, step 1, 2, 3.
yeah, the whole end of it is breaking down, but those are written in throughout. I know the goals and strategies came out of those sessions. I'm not doubting those. They just, that lower level, I've always thought that it didn't belong in the plan. Just stop at the strategies and then you can make your goals through the years. I mean, midterm, what does that mean?
Does this lean slightly back into the conversation we were having that the comprehensive plan in its entirety is a suggestion? So if this is in the document and the entire document is a suggestion, is that in the same thought yeah.
Well, this is the deputy city manager who is going to be overseeing sort of this. So David, why don't I'm saying something, jump in.
Thank you. And I'm going to be saying some things that some of you have already said. It is a guidance document. It's used by staff, but also you for making your decisions, the city council for making their decisions. So yeah, you include strategies in there. That's pretty typical for a comprehensive plan. And it's up to Elliot or whomever follows us down the road to report back to you as they start to bring individual projects forward or programs forward that fulfills those strategies. Staff can't do all these things on their own. They need council's approval, they need your input and so forth. So let's say there's a program and I'm just pulling this one out of the air, to increase code enforcement. Well, we have one code enforcement officer, hopefully 2 soon. If you think that there should be more code enforcement, that's still going to have to go through the process of getting approval by the council. If you think that, we need to change our occupancy rules, that's going to go through the city council. But what Elliot is going to have to be doing for you is producing what I'll call metrics to show you, this is what the plan says. This is the progress that we've made in fulfilling these goals by utilizing these various strategies that are included in the plan. But nothing is written in stone that you absolutely have to do it the way it's written in there. It's a guidance document. It's not prescriptive. It's strictly guidance. Your zoning ordinance, that's prescriptive, right?
And there's a huge body of case law that talks about just what a comprehensive plan is. I mean, there's a statutory prescription for what you do and how you do it and what they're supposed to be. But the case law says these documents, these comprehensive plans are by their very nature organic, meaning that they're intended to evolve, develop as the city's needs change over time. So if they were as prescriptive or as limiting as you're concerned that they might be, you wouldn't be allowed to do that. So again, it would be contrary to the nature of what is a comprehensive plan to have what you've thought of here.
And frankly, plans should be updated more frequently than we've done historically here in the city of Webster Groves. At the very least, every 3 to 5 years, you should look at it and say, have conditions on the ground changed? Has there been, new federal or state legislation that limits what we can and can't do? So you make kind of minor tweaks then, but then every, say, 7 to 10 years, that's when you do the full rewrite of the plan, not waiting from 1978 to 2025.
I just looked it up. It does have language that kind of softens it a little bit. It talks about how the implementation matrix outlines key details to ensure the comp plan remains aligned with the city's annual budget priorities should be reviewed. The implementation matrix should be reviewed on that basis of it. Right. Use that section is the recommendation. I don't know if that language of the header helps trace it all, keep it a little.
I mean, I just think I understand what you're saying. I fundamentally think it's written at too low a level. I think that's great that the community and the outreach events came up with a strategy such as implementing regulatory changes that discourage teardowns. Do I think that a goal should automatically go to implement more restricted FARs? I think that's probably a discussion, but the fact that it's in here is something we are going to pursue. And we haven't had a discussion about if that's the right way to approach that. And I'm saying we, the collective, as the community, I worry about that as the approach to achieving the strategy being written in at that level of detail. Again, I get it. It's ideas, but they're not our ideas. No. These are ideas that will guide discussions and ordinances that will determine how we do things. And I just feel like they should be organic and address the overall strategy. Again, it's my philosophy. I'm off my stage. I've said my piece on this.
And I'll just add one last thing, and this is a city council issue. City council develops their strategic plan every couple of years. In that strategic plan, they can identify components of the comprehensive plan that they want to prioritize. They could say, these 3 things, that's what we need to do during the period of this strategic plan. So again, there's more opportunities to prioritize and talk about.
But it's always choosing from what's already there.
Well, they go beyond that. It's just, it gives them.
Right. But
it's a partial menu.
I feel it's limiting, is all I'm saying.
I mean, I'm not going to continue the discussion personally. So, okay. I've lost track of where we are. So any other discussion? All right. So is the process the same, or do we need to? Okay.
We've already voted on it. We're simply perfecting this. I would ask you to, someone make a motion to affirm your prior vote.
Yeah.
That means you're basically saying the vote we made before was the one. That would be seconded and voted. You don't have to do it that way. It just kind of ties a neater knot.
Yeah. All right. If no one someone does not object to that approach, I will entertain a motion.
I'm not going to vote the same way I voted before. I'm going to vote against the comprehensive plan, with my concerns being with the level of detail of the strategic, points in the very end of the document.
So at this point now, the motion is for you is to confirm the prior vote. So again, I understand how to vote. I understand what your suggestion is. That has been moved and seconded, so that must now be voted upon unless the motion is.
Understand.
So if that's voted upon, you can still vote no.
Right, sure. Yep.
But again, what is before you has been moved and seconded.
Thank you.
All right, so to restate, we have a motion and a second to affirm, I was going to say confirm, affirm, thank you. Affirm our prior vote on the comprehensive plan. So we will start with Annie. Great.
No.
Steve,
No.
Tony,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. 7-2. 7-2. All right. All right, so motion passes. Thank you for the input. Next item.
Other business, front-facing garage discussion. A discussion of proposed changes to section 53.203 of the zoning code. Additional attached garage regulations regulating front-facing garages.
Okay, I'm putting the presentation up. I apologize for the technical. Okay, so let's.
While Elliot's doing it, can I make a suggestion that one of you move to get Christie a nameplate? She's far too much of a participant to be anonymous.
I second that.
Everybody.
Aye.
There we go. All right. So this was, as mentioned, this is something that a number of issues that the council has been discussing and has wanted to bring to a larger discussion and possibly see if there's any ordinances that can be moved as a result. So this has been brought, this conversation has been had at a couple of council meetings. There was some draft code proposals that were made, but before they were brought to council at the hearing level, we brought them back in light of the conversation about bringing the comp plan for public hearing. Okay. We wanted to bring this and the other code changes back to this board.
All right, man, I got a big bill.
You got a hot mic, Kyle.
Kyle, mute yourself, please. Thank you.
We want to bring this and future code changes where zoning is involved to this board and to the other appropriate boards for their discussion and input before it goes back to council for a formal review and vote. So what I'm going to do tonight is do a brief review of the history of regulation of front-facing garages in Webster Groves, summary of the key elements of the existing garage code, some of the proposals that we put together and their rationales, and then talk about the response from council and the Historic Preservation Commission who's had a chance to review this. Moving on. So the current code was approved in 2006 and was actually drafted by David. So we have the source right here. In 2018, the Architectural Review Board took a look at garage facade details as part of a comprehensive review of ARB guidelines. Then in 2021, the council discussed possible changes to garage regulations. And the only change at that time that was made was adding multifamily and commercial projects into the regulated categories, which prior to that they were not. In May of this year, we brought history and background of this ordinance to the council again for review. And then in August, we brought our recommendations and the draft ordinance changes to council for discussion and then to the Historic Preservation Commission. And that's when we, as I mentioned, we've decided to bring it back and take a step back and talk to the other commission boards, such as Plan Commission. This was in the presentation. It's just an example, some examples of front-facing garages that exist around the city at various ages, from old to new. The existing code, and I won't go into all the details, but basically, if 40% or more of the houses on a block have front-facing garages, an applicant may apply to put another front-facing garage on their house or as part of a new construction. There are dimensional limits to how big a garage can be, to how far it can project in front of a front facade, how wide the doors can be before they can be reviewed, how the regulations apply to corner lots and which frontage. And then there's an exception, and I point this out because this is something I addressed in the proposals that we made, that if 40% of the homes on both sides of a block not only have front-facing garages, but those garages exceed the limits that are in the current code, the Architectural Review Board currently may approve an exception for an application. So the three proposals that we put to council that are up for discussion here tonight as well. The first was the idea of eliminating the requirement that only on blocks where 40% or more of the homes have a front entry garage may be allowed to have a new one. So the idea that we proposed was that rule would go away. Second proposal was that we add a requirement that if a front-facing garage projects in front of or behind an existing facade, and I've got a graphic that'll explain that in a minute, that the sidewall between the two facades must also be architecturally compatible with both of those walls. And I have this graphic to explain it. So if you look on both of the two examples, you have facades A and B. Facades A are the main front facade wall and the front wall of the garage. And then facade B is the sidewall between the two. And what this proposed change would do is require that facade B in these two images be architecturally contiguous and compatible with facades A. And if you look in the lower image, facade B is brick and already matches facades A, so that would be fine. But in the upper image, facade B is just siding, whereas facades A have shingles at about 3 foot up. And so the facade B in the upper image, if this passed, would be required to match with this, with the shingles. And proposal C, the third proposal, is that, remember how I mentioned that there's that allowance that if 40% of the homes on a block exceed the width requirement limitations of the code, that Architectural Review Board may allow a new application to exceed those limits. Proposal 3 is to eliminate that. The idea being, as you'll see in a minute, that doesn't necessarily conform to the goals of the community. So if the goal is not to have wider garages, why allow that exception? There would still be an option for a variance if someone can make the case that there's a hardship, but that's a high bar to make. So this proposal is designed to meet the goals of the community, which I referenced in the presentation to council and to the Historic Preservation Commission. I mentioned this in particular to address Grace's concerns about this being very prescriptive. These goals and implementation strategies in the current comprehensive plan draft do not specifically and exclusively reference front-facing garages. But as they are written, I interpreted them to indirectly address that issue. So these code changes, I show as an example by these sections of the comp plan, goals and strategies, a driving policy that is not specifically mentioned in the plan, as an example of how this is a flexible document. So now, as I mentioned, this has been presented before the council and the Historic Preservation Commission. These are some of the key main comments that were received. Want to address a couple of them. First, the comment that 20 variances in 19 years is not considered a lot. I thought it was, but that's something that the community has to determine. If that's not a feeling, if it's a feeling is, 1 a year is not a big deal, then you can propose taking that proposal off the table.
Elliot, really quick, can you just describe what's required for variance to be accepted or
Yes.
granted?
Yes, a variance requires a land use hardship, by which I mean, the example I typically give, some of the lots, particularly in A4, are much smaller than what our code requires. So let's say you have a 40 by 100 foot lot, and it's a corner lot, so it has 2 front yards. It has a small house and no garage, and the applicant wants to put a garage on the side of their house behind the front wall. Well, because it has two fronts, it has 2 front yards, and you can't build a house in a garage in the front yard, and the rear yard, depending on how the house lays out, may encroach upon where the garage can reasonably go. It is not an unreasonable request to have a garage, a 1-car or even a 2-car garage. So that's an example of where the code that would normally allow an applicant to do what they're doing creates a land use hardship. So it has to be created by the code, not by the applicant. The applicant can't say, well, it's a hardship because I want to do this, and you're telling me no. So in each of these cases, there had to be some particular aspect on the ground that the code created a condition where they couldn't do it where otherwise they might be allowed to.
The variance?
Yes,
Okay. So would we have allowed them to build a garage?
no,
that-
under normal, well, they,
And that variance has to be granted by the Board of Adjustments, correct?
yes,
That is a county board, correct?
no,
Or
that is a city.
City board? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's,
Okay,
it's,
thank
it's, the city, the Board of Adjustment, like the Plan Commission, is established by state statute.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a hardship or a practical difficulty. It
Yes,
can't be one created by the homeowner. If you're on a pie-shaped lot and you want to do something, just because you have a pie-shaped lot doesn't make that a difficulty. You know,
right.
Right.
If there's a creek that runs through your backyard that prevents you from meeting a setback, that's a practical difficulty.
Yeah.
Just because you have a pie-shaped, an odd-shaped lot does not mean you would get granted a variance.
And that's why I always give the example of the substandard size lot on a corner, because that's something that people can visualize.
And I think it gives, the reason I asked the question is because one a year doesn't sound like that much of people going, well, I want to do this, so I'm going to ask for it. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about true hardship that would prevent you from being able to come up with alternatives.
Right. And,
I
I'm sorry,
sat
go ahead.
for, think closer, for a while on the Board of Adjustment, Zoning Adjustment.
Also.
I sat on that board. And I remember he's coming by the board and being rejected. But I must admit, that's been a while. So perhaps my memories are clear, but I do remember the board making a point that there has to be the land use hardship, not, it helps keep the dog in the backyard.
Well,
Um,
I'm sorry, I apologize.
So, but I do remember there was something too, because you've got these short streets, the short kind of side streets, where there may only be 3 houses. So if one of them's got it, you're not the 40%. So I remember that being an issue, but I thought they tried to stick to the land use hardship, and I would think that's their goal. And I guess without, you say 20 variances, but I would be curious how many were rejected then, because you're.
It's in
I
the-
can tell you, I have that number, 6 were rejected since this code was passed. And
And were they side yard setback
No,
variances?
no.
Okay.
so, in fact, we'll
Finish your presentation. We'll ask more
okay,
questions.
yeah, because I looked up those numbers and I know what those numbers are, but, so there are several other comments were made. So, one of the things that the Historic Preservation Commission expressed was a desire for more design guidelines for garages in general, and that this tied into their main point that a couple of them said was that, this goes against eliminating the main 40% rule goes against the spirit of the ordinance, and at least 2 of them said point blank, we don't want front entry garages at all. Now, yeah, I merely, so, that's just the conversation that was in the mix. And then, some of the comments made at council, and the question was asked, would this speed up approval of other applications? If the 40% rule were removed, yes, to a certain extent it would. Because then that wouldn't be in there, but then again, it would allow more front entry garages to be passed, to be approved. And then as a follow-up to that question, which this sort of just answered, would that eliminate too many guardrails? There would be some guardrails that would be eliminated if the 40% rule were taken away.
Guardrails for,
For restricting the amount and size of front entry garages. Actually, the amount, not the size.
That is the guardrail. All right.
If you were to pass this first one,
You could have.
you could have them.
Right, that's correct.
I mean, that is the guardrail.
Permitted by right, citywide.
Yeah, they'd still have to go to A or B. They'd still have to meet the code requirements for size and projection, but they would be allowed everywhere.
I have a couple of questions. Sorry. My first question is that the actual portion of the zoning ordinance that we are talking about amending specifically states additional attached garage regulations. And a number of the images in the examples around town are actually detached garages.
Yes.
So how is that playing into this front garages limitation?
You're correct in that this is referring to attached garages.
Okay, so this is just specifically attached garages. So then, on the 40% rule and the 2019 have been approved, 20 is not a lot in 20 years. I actually think that that's a good insight based on the importance of the fabric of our community. We have put a lot of effort into keeping a more historic community, and garages, neither here nor there, are not a beautiful part of a home ever. They are not a historic part of a home. I think 20 allowed variances in 20 years in a community that does have such a large number of small lots and limitations actually speaks more volumes towards, people are just probably not even bringing this forward as an option because they see this is not a hardship. I could do this on my lot, not facing the front, but I don't want to. Well, okay, I have to because I'm required to by the ordinances. That's just sort of what I see from personal experience of how that would be a limiting factor. And my concern would be that removing that limiting factor is just gonna not only cause an influx of front-facing garages, but then remove our ability to say, no, that's not the fabric of the community.
I feel like we need to move to executive session to have the conversation.
Oh,
on
I
this.
apologize, sorry.
Are we in the executive session?
Yeah.
We never left it, right?
Just discussion.
Oh, okay, okay.
Just discuss.
So, sorry.
I was like, wait, I didn't know we left.
I thought we had to do the presentation and then I apologize.
So could I just,
Do you have anything else?
just
Run through.
numbers, because this question has come up. So since this code was passed in February of 2006, there have been 161 variances applied for garages, some detached, some attached, some side setback. Of those, 31 were for the 40%, in some version of the 40%, a variance for the 40%. 21 were approved, 6 were rejected, and 1 was withdrawn. I think my number's 24.
What's the 19? What's the 20?
Essentially, you're saying about 30% of the variances applied for over that 20-ish year period were for this.
And this is,
30%.
this is for building an actual front-facing garage. It's not a variance from a side yard setback.
That is correct.
So
There-
this is,
some,
so there, it's been exceptions to,
yeah.
okay.
So, and some of those included other variances, but that number, that 24, that's strictly the ones that we're asking, whether by themselves or as part of a larger variance package for the 40%.
So these are variances from the Architectural Review Board,
No.
not the
From the Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment.
Is there you wouldn't happen to have those mapped, would you? I mean, like, is there a thing about particular neighborhoods in Webster Groves that lend them to being applied for, lead to variances being applied for because of the nature of the neighborhood?
I don't have one handy. I could put one together.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think, oh, I'm
So
sorry.
these are variances for front entry garages in neighborhoods that don't meet the 40%,
Yes,
not the 40% size.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so this is not,
Got too much
so
40%.
there's, sorry, so let me clarify. There's the two 40% rules. The one that says if 40% of the homes on the block have a garage, period, you may apply for one. That's step one. Step two is if 40% of the homes on the block have garages that exceed the garage width that we require, you may apply, you may ask ARB to give you an exception to have a wider garage. That's step two. Step one is the proposal to eliminate that the proposal number one is to eliminate step one. Proposal number two is the facade change. Proposal number three is to eliminate step two.
The facade change?
No,
No.
no, no, no.
No.
To
The
include
garage
include,
width.
yeah.
So there's.
You have a slide on it. It might be helpful just to show it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
So, I mean, I
And-
think
and
like,
that's my question. I want to go back to the beginning. Why are we doing this? Is it, you know, is the intent to create more front-facing garages in the city? Is I mean, why are we doing this? What, you know, why this amendment? Why now?
Problem, so.
Yeah. What?
Well, I want to defer to,
There were a couple of council members who wanted to bring this forward as a discussion. They asked staff to look into it and revisit front-facing garages. The idea being that if we're always granting exceptions, are we just making the process longer and more cumbersome for our residents to get to the same result? And could we change the process to make that faster and get the same result? So that was, I think, one of the initial things, and then Elliot came back with kind of these three different recommendations. One is addresses that first kind of thing, you know, initially, like if every variance request on the 40% of houses on the street gets approved, then why do they have to go for a variance? But they don't all get approved. And some of us feel like there's benefit in the process of making them go through the steps.
Yeah.
The second one on here is the facade thing. So making sure that things match front, back, front, side. I think that I haven't heard any concerns about the second one. The last one is actually kind of putting up a new guardrail, which is saying right now, if you have, you live on a street where 40% or more of the houses have an extra big garage, you can apply for a variance to have an extra big garage too, meaning wider than the 50% or whatever. This number three that the staff is proposing would get rid of that, and you would not be able to request a variance for an extra big garage just because your neighbors have an extra big garage.
so to put it another way, proposal one proposes to remove a guardrail. Proposals 2 and 3 propose to add guardrails.
so
We can do 0, 1, 2.
answering the question of why, I don't know the personal reasons that this got brought up, but I did kind of try to decompose it over the course of this week with the code. And for lots that are narrow and in high density areas, if you wanted to add a garage, you would maybe only be able to add an attached front facing garage because your lot is by definition, you don't have access to the back or side of it. And there's no space to have a driveway along the side of it. There's just literally not enough space. And in those cases, it makes sense that the variance would be granted. So removing, I feel like there's a middle ground. Like instead of removing the 40% rule, why not just limit the lot width? And that kind of addresses multiple concerns because you physically couldn't build an insanely huge garage. Your house, your lot wouldn't accommodate it essentially. Like
Which 40% really you're talking? The neighborhood
First.
first.
The first,
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Or the neighborhood doesn't have
Mhm.
it.
right. You would qualify because you have no other option for a garage. And I understand it's not a historically beautiful thing, but it is a practical quality of life and feature that I don't think is unreasonable, that everyone should have the option to be able to put a $50,000 to $100,000 car undercover when we drop limbs like crazy and have hail events and tornadoes. Like, I do think that the opportunity should be available to people, but we can still manage how it's done. The architectural components, I think, are great. And which lots actually need it, because this disproportionately impacts small lot owners. People with huge lots have no real excuse, right? You can do detached, you can do sidecar. There's no reason to consider this in those cases. We should only be allowing it where you have to consider it. And in those cases, I think it's sort of cruel if we don't allow people the option to put their vehicle in a undercover or in a place that it's got a little protection from the heat and cold.
So,
I'd
yeah.
be interested to know where the variances were coming from for the 40% front facing rule, because I agree with Grace that if you have a 75-foot wide lot and you've got a 40-foot wide house on it, there just isn't really anywhere else to put it. But in that case, your variance would be a side yard variance allowance, would be your hardship portion of that. What is the hardship portion that is getting clearance through this 40% of your street rule? That is not already, something like we've drawn a line we can't overlap, or
Well, I'd have to look at the individual ones and possibly go look at the transcripts to get that level of detail, so.
But I would, again, having sat on that code, I think that thought process you just went through is what goes on at the review board. And I've actually recalled meetings where they looked at similar lots where staff had prepared, hey, this guy was able to get a rear entry garage on a lot of almost identical width after the developer said, oh, I can't do it. And so I said, hey, this guy did it, so you
Yeah,
can figure
and we
it out.
could find out what that width is and set that as the minimum.
To the point, I think, is I don't know that we need to. I think that's why the review board's there, and they can look at each case, and you don't try and codify something that is that lot specific. That's why that process exists, to look at each lot.
I actually think, excuse me, you're done. I actually think removing that 40% of the neighborhood encourages tear downs. It will encourage tear downs. I think removing the rule that 40% of houses in the neighborhood are allowed a front entry garage. If you remove that, it opens it up. I think it encourages more tear downs.
I would agree.
Because people will say, okay, on a certain lot, you'd have a one car garage, and they'll say, oh, well, you know what? I don't have any restrictions now. I can tear down that house and put up a 40-foot wide house with a 22-foot wide garage, and all you would see is a garage.
I mean, that's only if the style guide allows you to do that also. And that assumes that people who are living in those places want to sell their house or rebuild. I think that that's a fear that the homeowners, like the property owners, should manage themselves. Why are we burdening current homeowners and giving them the inability to add a garage if they want to park undercover because we're afraid that later, sometime down the road, they may sell their house or decide that they want to build new on their lot? I just think that's a discriminating way to look at it.
But
Well, I
they
think
can't- they can't have a front facing lot garage. They can have a front facing garage. We're not taking away that.
Right, in the current scenario, that is correct, but at some point, you also have to respond to the market of how people want to live and access their amenities. This also might restrict you from buying an EV. Is that what we want to do? If you don't have a way to pull in and plug your car in? I mean, it's,
Could I,
we
could I have a
we
moment
can
to
be
chime in
historic-
from afar? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle.
I got my hand raised, but it's tough.
Sorry, we're sucked in.
Yeah. So I just want to
30 minutes, Kyle.
yeah, I know. I'll try to keep it tight, everybody. I'm on the West Coast though, so I got plenty of time. No, so like I'm an architect and I'd like to say on the architecture review board, having served there for a while, I'd recommend that they need to make no decisions about what people can and cannot do from like a planning level. They should really just be there to talk about the aesthetics of homes. In general, like I designed and built my own house on a skinny lot. Like I lived this exact experience, and you can put you've got 6-foot setbacks on both sides. You end up with a roughly 30-something foot max house with a 10-foot driveway. You can attach. I have a rear entry attached garage. Like this is not a hardship. It's a hardship for someone who already owns the house, but they bought a house in Webster Groves. Like that's part of what this neighborhood is, right? The Webster Groves predates the automobile. And just in general, and I appreciate that Elliot brought up the pillars from the comprehensive plan, like making decisions that put automobiles over like pedestrians and people is always terrible. Kirkwood looks awful with their front entry garage. It's one of the, aesthetically, practically, I think it's fantastic. And if we start to allow front entry garages, there are house plans out there that are 30 feet wide and it's 24 feet of garage and then tucked back as a 6-foot door. And I think we'd all regret seeing that. And developers will build that. They will tear down everything and they will build that. So those are just my 2 cents as a professional and a homeowner and someone who's like lived this exact conversation.
And
Thank you.
if I can just, I live across the street from Kyle. So
How's this place look? Yeah.
he addressed your concerns in an imaginative way as a professional that maintained the character of Webster and put people ahead of automobiles. And I
So
think
could
that's
we-
what that does.
Could we strike the balance then? Could you allow it for existing homes who want to add it, but keep the same rules for new builds? So that people who are in their current properties do have the opportunity if they want to add on. That doesn't address the architectural argument, right? That people don't like the look of front entries, but I'm just having a hard time. And I get that the pillars are in here, but there's more than 3 pillars, right? Some of the other pillars are quality of life and essential systems.
The issue to that is that all of the houses on small lots are built to the front lot line. There's no room in the front setback to allow it. So they could either like turn their living room into a garage.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So, I mean,
Yep.
like, again, the big lot people, they have all the flexibility in the world. And, as people look at houses in Webster Groves, like you're lucky if you find a house with a garage. I mean, we also, to the flip side, I'd like to point out that like Webster Groves over every other municipality really has some of the most lax accessory units, right? You can have an accessory garage. And to your point, Grace, if someone's house is so wide, and I can imagine a few of them in Tuxedo Park, like you would never be able to drive past it. Those properties are just kind of stuck unless someone tears it down. And even then in a tear down, they could build a detached 2-car garage, ADU above. I mean, we have a lot of flexibility in the ordinance here.
All right, I'm gonna, I've got a number of questions, comments. So Elliot, you said, so you can apply with 40%, but that's not necessarily approved. Right? If they're more than 40% of the units on your block have a front-facing garage, you can apply, but you indicated that not all were approved. What criteria would be used to disapprove?
Well, okay, are you talking about variances or are you talking about regular applications? Because with regular applications to the ARB, if 40% of the houses or more on the block have a garage, then they'll do their regular review as far as aesthetics and layout and all the pieces that they review versus, I'm not sure what you're
Well,
asking.
maybe I misheard you, but what I heard was front end, okay, that you can apply with 40%.
If there's two versions of 40%. The step two is what I think you're referring to is if 40% of the homes on a block have garages that are wider than what is allowed by code, then
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, I misconstrued. Okay.
it is
So
confusing.
so if more than 40% on the block have it, you can just do it.
Mhm.
You can add a front facing garage.
Yeah, you got to
Right,
go
and-
through ARB, but yeah.
All right, and we talked some numbers. I know there were 21 variances. How many homes are in Webster Groves?
Somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000.
Okay. I mean,
They keep adding.
where?
Okay, there's 9,000
So
housing
a
units,
small-
but some of them are
That's
condos and
smaller than
apartments,
I
senior.
might have guessed, but.
I would agree with Elliot's range. I mean, that's where I think of it.
What's that?
I agree with Elliot's range. That's how I understand it to be. A single family homes. Yeah.
So still, I mean, it's still a fair, I mean, if we open up floodgates, maybe that changes, but still a pretty minor portion of the overall. And I think we kind of touched on this as well. I mean, I guess my question is, and I don't know if anyone can answer it here, but, you know, and another of our, you know, goals is affordable housing. And is there a significant cost to complying with these regulations that might otherwise? And I don't know the answer to that. And
Gonna go ahead and take a whack at that one.
Sure.
I'm also an architect, professionally, and what I have seen in my experience is that there are instances where a front-facing garage would save you money because of less concrete for driveways, access to the lot by the contractor, items like that. However, the overall construction cost of, you know, studs and door and like, there is a null and void cost savings or escalation there. If you turn the garage one way or the other, there may be a slight increase because of some site stuff, but there is not from my experience, an overall driving force of the actual element itself.
thank you.
Was in council too, that was a question at least one council member had was, you know, is it cheaper to do an attached front facing garage versus a detached one in the back? You have, you know, could there be kind of stormwater implications if you have to do a long driveway back to the back of your house versus not needing that, having more grass in your yard? Those were some of the things that came up in the discussion.
And it's gonna be I want to put a caveat on what I said. There is going to be a lot between whether you're putting it on the back of the lot, bringing it to the front of the lot. There's gonna be a lot of stuff that ranges there, but certain things are just always gonna cost what they cost.
Yeah, and stormwater has to do with, you know, if you have a lot that's deep enough that you can put a detached garage on, you've got, and a driveway is, you know, 9 feet, 8 feet, whatever, that water's gonna dissipate depending on your lot and what your lot looks like, you know, how it's graded and all that kind of stuff.
Well, more impermeable surface is not going to absorb as much water.
The
But
impervious.
honestly, listening to this discussion, I'm like, we should just not even touch this ordinance. Like, it doesn't seem like the juice is worth the squeeze here. Like the flip side of this coin, it just doesn't seem like we're ready, right? To do this. You know, my personal opinion aside, I just think there's too much variance in like what at least I've heard you guys say. And I think you have some good points. I think there's some things I'm concerned about, but I don't know to what end we're pursuing this.
And I would just, having sat on that board, that review board, and living across from Kyle, I would just kind of reiterate what was said, and I do think the impervious area adds up to what was said, regardless. But and I've heard a lot of this over the years and having done land development stuff. It seems like the people that make the most hay about that being a thing and driving costs up are the ones that aren't as bright and imaginative as Cal that solve it easily. So, and that may be hateful, but making them think a little bit how to solve the problem, I think goes a long way towards eliminating the problem.
All right. So we were asked to discuss, I think we have fulfilled that requirement. What is our?
Been discussed.
Yeah. Council will consider and
Yeah. To council about it. I don't know if HPC as well. I don't know if plan wants to make any opinions formal, but I'm happy to take back the discussion.
If this ever was pursued, wouldn't the plan commission have to approve the ordinance?
Well, amendment, yeah, the amendment would.
So
Yeah.
I do have like, it's a process question,
yeah,
but it gets
usually-
to
usually
the
council
comprehensive
tells us,
plan
and
process
then
once
we
again.
do this discussion.
because
It doesn't go back to
It
them.
seems like we're kind of late to the game on the discussion if we would have to
Yes,
approve
ma'am.
an ordinance. So I do want to, like, that would be part of my discussion feedback is like, and strengthening these linkages between the ARB and the HPC, if they are actually, and clearly they are, providing feedback that then we have to tangle with here. And there are presentations happening and stuff that, now we're sorting through in real time. It would be good to improve on that.
So what happened? This came up in a work session where, as Emily indicated, one of the council members indicated that they were concerned about this and it engendered a conversation. And then as the conversation proceeded, it was like, well, wait a minute, shouldn't this go through the plan commission? So it is a little bit backwards in that regard, but that's where the conversations initiated, were in the work session. So it would come back to you, but obviously before there would be an ordinance, it would still come back through you for approval of the ordinance and all that sort of thing. The idea was to sort of explore the issues, which you've done.
Have we?
Started.
You don't want to.
Well, I mean,
Kyle, I'm
that
coming
gets
to see
carried
your
out and
house
then
someday.
come back, so.
To the theme as well as making sure that we are really engaging the boards and commissions in this process. We have so much expertise. And so it was really deliberate to go out to plan, of course, but also ARB, board adjustments was, but multiple, same thing with the comprehensive plan and stormwater, like we're trying to make sure that we're involving those different things like the new Great Rivers Greenway discussion that's happening. As that moves forward, we'll want to make sure that they plan, green space, whatever the, applicable commissions are involved in that. So that is, and that I think did kind of grow a little bit, Grace, out of the, how the comprehensive plan did not. do that.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that we got the notes. So, that's good to hear.
And,
yeah, I was gonna, thank you. but
and
yeah.
one of the things I would say is, given Tony's comment and Grace's comment, in terms of why this happened, I would suggest, because this was in the work session, so it was a matter of public record, the council member who was discussing this thought that there ought to be the front-facing garages, that they ought to be available. And for the reasons that you spoke about, Grace, and and going to your question of why did this come up, it was because they thought that's where it ought to happen. But if that's going to happen, it's got to come from you up.
Thank you.
All right, I see everybody's gathered their papers, but hang on just another moment. Kyle, your hand is up. Is that a continuation or do you have a new comment?
Hands down.
Hands down, and muted. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one is in the Great Rivers Greenway project, there was an open house last week. At this point, it's really early stages. This is being driven mostly by, I shouldn't say driven, being led mostly by Great Rivers Greenway, but it is a partnership with the city. The sites that they're talking about right now are connecting to other places. That Deer Creek will be where it actually comes from Ladue down to Tillis Park and would come down to like Ray Davis, I believe that, so that would be same thing, and Mara is actually the project lead on that. And then there's another project that's not really connected to anything yet, which would be Elm to Gore on Kirkham. Because I think this commission is aware of that MSD project that's going to happen there. There's a big sewer project there, the islands have to come back, MSD has to pay, rebuild it afterwards. And so GRG is kind of leveraging off of that to say, well, if we want a trail to come there eventually, why don't we build that, you know, near that short distance narrow. So they're starting to do public comment. There's a survey up. You can probably find it on the city's website. Parks put it out. Go to the rec center. There's a big QR code on the wall you can scan. So looking for public comment. It's early days. The exact route of how that would go on either side.
Would
of
it
the Elm to Gore.
eventually, would that connect up eventually to Grant Trail?
That is the hope, that eventually we would have a very big loop.
Okay.
Devils in the details, but yes.
Yeah.
And then also that from Elm would connect back towards Frank Davis. On how.
Yeah, up a big hill, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one other. Like, did a stormwater management plan that is official now, and then the city did create a new stormwater commission that we are accepting applications for, looking for expertise in that, you know, engineers and people who know a lot about stormwater, because we have a lot of projects and limited resources. We do have like a grading rubric, but we'll need a commission's help to figure out which projects we do when, how those work, and also to help triage new projects as they come in. Be sure we will. Those are my two.
Good. And I just wanted to share a letter from Emily and Mayor Arnold. Well, I'll just read it, not all of it, but they wanted me to share with the commission. We appreciate your work on various conditional use permits and site development plans over the last year. We're especially grateful for your work on the comprehensive plan. While that process was not optimal, all members of the council are grateful for your work and contributions. We look forward to working with you as implementation of the plan begins. After council consideration, we will work with staff to shape an implementation process that will rely heavily on the Plan Commission to ensure we get the most out of the plan developed. Please share the gratitude, which I am. We know that each of you have plenty of demands on your time and talent. Thanks for dedicating some of it to city. So thank you all. Thank you. All right. Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.